Hello and welcome back to the Motorsport Baithak podcast. I'm your host GD and joining me once again is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we will be talking all about Drive to Survive Season 3. So let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready our opinions and dive right into the conversation. Hello Vedant, have you already binge watched Drive to Survive Season 3?
Hello, Divya. Yes, I have. It's barely been 2.5 days, I suppose, and I have binged it all because that's what we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I binged it first thing in the morning when I woke up on Friday. So don't judge me for that. But what did you think about season 3? Because it wasn't the most exciting, even though it had like a lot of exciting storylines. It wasn't the most impactful or exciting Drive to Survive season for me personally.
Yes, definitely. Like so, if we compare it to the previous two seasons, it was not the best one. But as we know, the COVID and the restrictions that were placed on the crew members was a key part of it, and especially I believe because the season itself was so great, so the Drive to Survive, whatever they made, was subpar in terms of that.
I wouldn't say subpar, but I feel that a lot of because like so much happened in the season and like so many unexpected things happened in the season that most of them are still fresh in my memory, which is why I like when I because when you're watching Drive to Survive, you're basically reliving the Formula One season that happened last year, and I feel a lot of it was just still so fresh in my memory that it didn't change my perspective or it didn't add to it a whole lot. But still, a lot of talking points coming out of Drive to Survive season 3. So why not? Let's just get into it.
Definitely.
I think the very first thing I noticed on the first episode was it was really weird to like see Cyril back, knowing that Cyril won't be on the grid this year. So it was like a really weird feeling for me watching Cyril again, and him making decisions based on the fact that he'll be on the grid this year, and him like feeling emotional about Danny Rick leaving and whatnot, and just knowing that he's not even a part of the
Yeah.
sport anymore, which is kind of crazy because he like when Danny Rick was leaving, he's Cyril said he's making a mistake, and we are a championship winning team. And they did well last year, so it just makes it even more weird, especially since we haven't heard a lot from Cyril or from the Renault management about Cyril ever since he was sacked.
Yeah, definitely. I felt second-hand sadness for Cyril in that episode, and I think Cyril was genuinely very upset. And yeah, they talked about him not they Ricardo and Cyril not talking for days. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was definitely weird to see Cyril back.
Cyril's a passionate and emotional man, and he owns it. Like he said
He's a Frenchman.
in one of the yeah, that's what he exactly said. I'm Latin, I'm French,
Yeah.
I am emotional. So he owned it. So kudos to him for us for that. But yeah, first episode, Cash is King, and I think it took us back to the Racing Point saga, and we heard from Lance Stroll. Now, obviously, we know Lance Stroll as someone who doesn't come out and talk a lot. He's very doesn't do a lot of interviews. He's not at all the races, but when he shows up, when he makes an appearance, there's a reason for it, and
Lawrence, you meant Lawrence
yeah, Lawrence,
Stroll.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, Lawrence Stroll. So we know Lawrence Stroll is not someone who makes an appearance at all the races or comes talks to the media frequently, but but he made an appearance when the Racing Point saga happened, and I had forgotten all about the interview that he had given. And looking back, it was clear that he was not messing around, and he was very upset about it. And through like all the interviews and the way the Racing Point team was covered and Lawrence Stroll's interaction with his team, he seems like a scary man, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I know. Yeah. His aura seems like he's a big man, and his aura seems even bigger.
He's very bullish, yeah. And I was like, I would not want to upset this person. And then there was this segment with Otmar's like, when the ownership changes, even the upper management, the jobs of the upper management are also on
Yeah.
the line, and you just don't know if you'll be here next race.
It certainly was very strange to see Lawrence, and but it showed you, how involved he is in the team, how passionate he is for the team, and with him bringing in Aston Martin for this season onwards, the behind the scenes stuff we saw on Drive to Survive, it certainly shows you how passionate he is, and he's not just another billionaire with money investing in Formula One.
No, he's got a grand plan, and like he said, he's here to win. He's not here to just participate. Which brings me to another point. There was this little clip of Gene Haas being interviewed, and he's like, "Well, it'll be nice to score points, at least a couple times, even if not. I'm not asking to score points in every race, but even a couple times," which was surprising and really. I don't want to use the word weird, but like demotivating in a way for the team, because like someone who's been involved in motorsport for so long, like Gene Haas, if he doesn't have that energy, that passion to win in Formula One, I don't know how the team will extract, how the team morale will be higher, or how he's setting the bar way too low. I feel for the team to make a stride, for the team to make changes.
I think Gene Haas has been involved. Yeah, as you said, Gene Haas has been involved in motorsports for a long time. But he came into Formula One with big hope, big ambitions, and that partnership with Ferrari, the way they built that partnership, was revolutionary at the time. And but at the same time, with him investing a lot of money, they did well a couple of seasons. Then the rich energy thing happened, and then 2019, 2020 happened. So I think he's just very demotivated himself and just wants that, little bit of happiness in that way.
Yeah, but you don't. I would not imagine a man of his stature to be talking like that, or presenting himself in that way. He seems tired. He seems pretty done with Formula One at this point. And we also saw when when Gunther was on the phone with Gene Haas, as to how because Gene was pretty straightforward on that call. At least that I'm bleeding money, and I'm not going to put any more money in this team. So you need to find money to keep this team afloat. So they're basically surviving. And that's what we know from the previous season. But yeah, and the whole COVID thing was really surprising, that there was so much like I would have, like, I thought at the time that when COVID happened, all the teams would have, all the team principals, all the team reps would have met, and they would have made a unanimous decision. But apparently it came down straight from FIA F1 to the teams, and the teams were in disagreement whether or not they still wanted to race. There's Claire Williams on one side, who was absolutely against it. Then there was Zach Brown, who immediately took action once the mechanic tested positive for COVID. And on the other hand, we still had Christian Horner saying, we should
Yeah, they
still,
want to race. Yeah.
yeah, they want to race, which is understandable, because they set everything up. They flew all the way to Australia knowing that COVID is happening, and the fans were there, everybody was there, so it was a huge decision to just cancel the event altogether, after being like because they knew of the danger. They were being repeatedly asked by the media that, hey, the whole world is shutting down, why is Formula One still happening? But at the end of the day, it still didn't happen. So it was kind of weird. So it would have been fun if all the team principals got together, and if there was a meeting to discuss the same, to see what everyone had to say. We only saw a glimpse, but yeah.
Yeah, so that whole situation was very mismanaged, I think is the word. And we didn't realize it at the time because COVID was very new in the world. But as we think, and when we look back on it, the whole Australian GP situation was very, you know, mismanaged and disorganized. And I feel bad for the fans because they paid huge sums of money to attend the Grand Prix.
I mean, a lot of
And
fans flew into Australia for
yeah,
that.
exactly. And I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if they ever got their refunds, but and also they, I think Drive to Survive could have incorporated the efforts Formula One took on their part for the equipment that they made for COVID, to fight COVID for their respective countries.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would have been a nice addition if Drive to Survive covered that, and they covered what went behind the scenes to get Formula One back on track. to get Formula One running again, because Formula One is essentially like the first major sporting event across the world to take place during COVID, and they didn't cover any of that except that one little piece where we see Zach Brown talking to Chase Carey about how many races are possible and what the
Yeah,
calendar would look like. So that was kind of disappointing, and they didn't cover any of the stuff that Formula One did to keep the fans engaged over the COVID break either. And none of the stuff that happened online with the drivers or like the F1 virtual Grand Prix or any of those things. They could have covered a lot of that.
yeah, they could have covered the virtual Grand Prix, and I mean, in that virtual Grand Prix, you obviously had different people from all over the world coming in from different sports, but at least they could have used some sort of stuff which only connected F1.
Yeah, yeah. But again, it was definitely good to have Formula One back on track. So yeah, but again, Red Bull and Mercedes went head to head. We saw Christian Horner. I thought it was really nice of Christian Horner to go to Toto Wolff to tell him that they'll be protesting the DAS system.
Yeah,
I thought it was. I didn't think that is something Christian Horner would do, but I guess they share a good rapport with each other. That he informed Toto Wolff before doing that.
yeah. I think Fred Russo said it in a later episode that even though they are rivals, they are still one big family. So having that
Yeah,
rapport with your colleagues is very, very important.
especially when you spend you spend at least 20-23 weeks together on the racetrack, so
Yeah,
you need
exactly.
to be good friends. But yeah, definitely, it was definitely surprising for me though to see Christian Horner do that, because I see Christian Horner as someone who'll pull out all the stops, clean or dirty, doesn't matter, to win, to get back to where he was,
Yeah.
because we forget, but Christian Horner is the person who won Red Bull 4 championships, within a couple of years of coming to the sport, and he took the Red Bull team to the very top, and kept that place. And Toto Wolff just came, like they said in the episode. Toto Wolff came around and just took the ball from Christian Horner, and Christian's been trying to get it back ever since. So he's got a fight to pick every season now, and I guess 21 is his best chance. Looking forward. It was also interesting to see the f- the aspirations that Christian Horner had for Alex in that team, because when we saw Drive to Survive season 2, when they were covering Pierre and Pierre losing his seat and things like that, we didn't see Christian Horner having as much support, or like supportive words for Pierre when he had left, or he didn't put as much faith in Pierre as much as they had in Alex. So that was very interesting. And even towards like when we saw in like the later episodes, in Bahrain, when they were covering Perez and they were covering Roman, that even then, Christian and the team were wanting Alex to do well and win, so that they didn't have to make a call outside of the team.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like in my opinion, they've stuck on with Alex. They stuck on with Alex because they didn't want to repeat that same mistake again of changing seats.
But what I'm talking about is like the sentiment in the media throughout the last season for Alex, after like the first 6-7 races, was that Alex is done.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it created the impression that even Red Bull is done with Alex, and they're just like holding on and just riding the season out because they don't want to look bad. But from what I saw in Drive to Survive, that was not the case. It seemed like Red Bull was still putting in the effort to help Alex step up and stay in the team. All right, what's next? Nobody's fools. Definitely an interesting episode. Definitely partial unity.
Bottas.
Um, bought ass. That has been the talk of the town for the last few days. Ever since Drive to Survive came out. But yeah, really interesting to have an insight into Bottas's, because everybody just has written Bottas off for the last couple of seasons after the first couple of races, and everybody is like, he's just not got it. So it's really interesting to see the determination and the perseverance that Bottas has, and what's driving him.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, these guys all grow up to be world champions one day, and Bottas has the chance to do it. So obviously, he wants it more than anybody else at the moment. And on that point, I mean, my respect for Nico Rosberg has grown.
Yeah, the throwback to Nico's win was very nostalgic, and Nico talking about how he got underneath Hamilton's skin and what Valtteri needed to do to win a world championship.
And yeah, and in that episode we saw when Valtteri gave Max that tow during qualifying in Sochi, we genuinely saw Hamilton upset, and
Yes,
that is what like getting under the skin of Lewis Hamilton is. He was genuinely upset,
exactly.
and Bottas said, I will be selfish from now on. Sochi 2018 was very hurtful. I'll be selfish from now on. And he did that. He got under Hamilton's skin. And I hope we see more of that in this season, coming season.
Absolutely. I mean, even later on in the season, although it wasn't covered by Drive to Survive, we did see Valtteri, try to do anything he could with the team to, tire strategies or whatever
Yeah,
to
exactly.
beat Hamilton. But yeah, it was definitely because I don't think I realized it at the time when Sochi, like the race in Sochi happened, that what had happened between Bottas and Hamilton uh,
Yeah. Hmm.
during the season. So this is a good throwback, I think, to see what had happened. And it was very interesting that Hamilton was upset because when Hamilton was interviewing for what had happened in 2016 with Nico, he's like, we were best friends, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, only one of us can be world champions. So I like knowing that, and like it's just like it almost makes me feel that Lewis. I mean, it's obviously hard to accept the other side of the coin, when you're on the receiving end of the short stick, but it just seemed like Lewis is definitely wasn't sure that he could pull it off without Valtteri being a second driver. But not a lot more from that episode. Although it was good, following Bottas around and getting a break from just watching Monza and Austria over and over again. I think it was like the one of the very few episodes that covered a race that was not Monza or Austria.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Definitely.
like it just seemed like most episodes we're just going back to Austria and Monza over and over again, and I was like, come on, so much more happened during the season.
I mean,
Uh,
Monza was definitely very exciting, but I suppose only one episode was enough.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, and then episode 4 moves on to Ferrari. Definitely brought up the whole Sebastian Vettel
Yeah, the breakup.
announcing his the breakup. Sebastian Vettel announcing his move to Aston Martin on 1000th race anniversary for Ferrari.
Yeah.
So very very cheeky, and and that particular scene before, so like you have Christian Horner and Sebastian talking about something, and it's vague. We don't know whether they're talking about announcing the move or the move itself. And then and then the scene cuts back to Sebastian Vettel being announced, and then Christian Horner saying that
Yeah.
he's in a good place. I don't exactly remember what he said, but it was like Christian Horner getting interviewed.
Yeah,
So
Horner
that
did
was
said that the timing of it makes it very, very interesting.
yeah, that's exactly what he said. Maybe he was just pissed off, which is fair enough.
Which is fair.
It's funny how Christian Horner speaks the truth when it's not about him. Uh,
Oh.
oof, shots fired. I mean, he's great content though. We saw Christian Horner go after Toto Wolff when we saw that Zoom call with Toto, Susie,
Yeah.
and Christian. And he's like, "Are you making Toto do all the house chores?" And
Yeah.
it's like, really, you got to let go of it sometimes. You're not on the track. It's okay.
I think
uh,
the Vettel episode was even more exciting for me because we got to watch the behind the scenes PR coaching that Vettel got.
yeah,
And that
that was
it
definitely
in fact Charles Leclerc
awesome.
also got that because of their miserable season that they were having, and they were coached on things to say and not to say. And obviously, uh, the drivers do get coached, but
Yeah,
it was, I think, an extreme, I suppose.
and we could see the tension between Sebastian and I think like the her name was Sylvia,
Eh,
who was like coaching Sebastian
Yeah,
and
I don't remember the name, but
Charles.
yeah, I know the tension was definitely visible. It was awkward.
But yeah, yeah, it was very interesting to like when Sebastian got interviewed about why what he thought about Ferrari being at the back of the grid, and he's like, we deserve it.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, Mattia Binotto was like, we didn't break any rules, and then you have Sebastian Vettel saying we deserved it. It's very interesting. And then when he was like doing like a fan interview, he's like, well, I can say whatever I want because
Yeah.
I'm leaving the team.
There was
And I was like,
another
Seb.
moment that I think the PR guys said to Vettel that you can't be funny because our
Yeah, that was like the Italian Grand Prix right after like after the Belgian Grand Prix when they didn't do well. They
yeah,
finished outside
exactly,
the points.
yeah, you can't be funny because of our performance.
And like, who said that?
So, that was
uh,
certainly very strange. And
and then Drive to Survive made like as a Ferrari fan, I had to relive the horror of the 1,000th race anniversary celebration all over again. That was
oh, oh
that was
Lord,
really painful. It was. I did not enjoy that. I would have been happy if Drive to Survive cut it out.
yeah.
Uh, it was just not.
And I mean,
It was
they,
terrible.
they they included that celebration, but they did not include anything from Mugello, the race itself.
Yeah, yeah. That's happened. I guess the episode was about Ferrari, right? And Ferrari again had like an uneventful Mugello race. They finished ninth and tenth, if I remember correctly. Yeah, yeah, ninth and tenth. Yeah, but even then, like nothing really to add to Ferrari's.
Yeah,
Uh, and even Mattia Binotto's interview, I think they was just like almost pointless because Mattia was just saying the same thing over and over again.
yeah, determination, that keyword.
Yeah, yeah, that keyword, determination. but
Nice.
but yeah, and then the season moved on to Daniel Ricciardo's breakup with Renault.
End of an affair.
I think the moment that stood out to me was Daniel Ricciardo giving. I would like to know who the people were that Daniel Ricciardo handed the tattoo book to give to Cyril. Were they like Cyril's family or it was like a bunch of people? They were like having lunch or something, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
Daniel gets up and then he gives the books to them to like give to Cyril, and that was interesting. But we're still waiting on the tattoo, so who knows what happened.
I mean, Cyril has left Formula One, so Ricardo,
But he said he would still honor it.
yeah, he would honor it, but
Uh,
Ricardo won't be able to hold him, catch him on any weekend, and we won't get any, media activity around it. So let's see.
yeah, exactly. But I guess
That episode was, I mean, a lot about Cyril himself and how he felt
exactly.
betrayed, actually, because
Yeah,
they spent a lot of money to
the
get Ricardo and only two
yeah, yeah,
and leaving. Although he did get two podiums eventually, and Renault got three podiums in total, including Ocon's podium. But knowing that he won't be racing for Renault in the future, specifically, they got Ricardo for the future, and knowing that it will end, it was very strange.
yeah. That's what Cyril said, right? It's not the long-term project we signed up for,
Yeah,
and especially since didn't like Daniel sign before the season started,
yeah, yeah.
so
The
it was
half the
even more heartbreaking.
exactly.
Yep. And Daniel did say, in bits and pieces that he like he didn't have regrets, but he did think, at times that he made the wrong decision or made the jump too quickly or something like that, and he was second guessing his own decision about moving to McLaren.
I mean,
Uh,
obviously, if you do it that early in the season and you so see the pendulum swinging between both teams, you will second guess it. But
yeah,
I think it was the right decision at the end of the day.
yeah, but it's great. It's just great to see Daniel, just smiling and having a good time.
Yeah,
I can just sit and watch Daniel just like go through his day. Like I will have no
yeah.
problem.
And oh,
Uh,
I remember Daniel Ricciardo's farm. I mean, that is a place to live. I felt, oh my
the
God,
Australian outback.
yeah, it's huge and it's like dirt track. You can ride your ATV
Yeah,
wherever you want. It was quite interesting. I was daydreaming about
def.
it.
Yeah, I can see that happening. All right, then anything else about this episode?
I don't quite remember because it was about Cyril and Ricardo, right?
Yeah, mostly, yeah. And then we moved on to uh, Pierre Gasly, uh,
The
and
comeback
and
kid.
again this was just Netflix covering his win in Monza for the most parts, and a couple harsh comments from Christian Horner,
Yeah, yeah.
just sliced in between. Uh, I have to put down a dog and something like that. Really, not even harsh, but just
No, what?
inappropriate almost.
No, wasn't I had to put down a dog was his own dog, about his own dog.
I don't know. I thought it was in reference to Pierre.
No, but that would have been last season, no. I think this was
I don't know. Maybe I misinterpreted it. I don't know.
yeah,
It was
I
weird.
certainly feel like you jump to
It was
conclusion.
out of place. It was out of place
Yeah.
because they were talking about Pierre and Alex, and then there's this just like one random comment of Christian Horner walking down the stairs, and, like I had to put down the dog, and I'm like, what is he talking about? Pierre? What is he talking about?
Uh, he said that yeah, he's upset and don't wouldn't like any weird questions on the day for the press conference. But
Yeah,
yeah,
really.
quite. Yeah.
Definitely interesting to see how they've been very closed off about Pierre's return to the Red Bull team. Like at first they were like, oh, he's definitely not coming back, but then it got a lot more cagey. I feel like throughout the interviews as the season progressed.
Yeah, I think see, since AlphaTauri is a sister slash junior team, but they are not in full control by Red Bull, right? So
Yeah,
I think Franz Tost has his own say on the driver lineups, and he might have, put up the notion that okay, let Pierre stay with us for a couple more seasons, maybe. We'll nurture him to be a world class driver, even better than he is right now, because obviously he's a young driver and he'll grow to be better. And that is, I think, best for both sides.
I guess I don't want Pierre to go to Red Bull. I want him to find another team that's doing well. And AlphaTauri is looking good this season, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, this is about Drive to Survive season 3. Let's not get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we finally come to season 7, the star of Drive to Survive throughout all the seasons,
Gunther
Gunther
Steiner.
Steiner. We finally get an episode with him. Um,
Yeah, I was actually very sad that we haven't heard from Gunther in the 5 episodes, in the first 5 episodes.
yeah, I was like we were missing something.
Yeah.
Like Drive
and,
to
and
Survive was
and
not
and then we
complete.
got an entire episode to the man himself.
Yeah, exactly. And in the interview with Jenny Gao, that was released on YouTube later on her like YouTube channel, when she was interviewing the producer director of Drive to Survive, and he said how welcoming Haas and Gunther have been since the start of Drive to Survive,
Yeah, yeah,
and how they can put a collar mic on Gunther and he's like okay with it, and
yeah.
and he lets them record anything and everything, which is a little, I don't, it's a little crazy, to think about it, that you being monitored at all times and someone's recording you,
but
to show on
yeah,
TV.
he's comfortable around about it, and it's his actual personality. He's not putting up a show. He's not
Yeah,
he's not dialing himself down, and I think it's a good part from Gunther himself.
but the most interesting part of that episode was me for me was the rivalry between Gunther and Frederick Vasseur when they were trying to get Mick to join the
Yeah,
teams. It was
yeah,
very because everybody says Frederick Vasseur is a great businessman. He's very intelligent, but he's also very shrewd, and we saw that a glimpse of that during that episode, which is interesting. But there's one thing in that episode that confused me a lot. So remember when Gunther is talking to the sports. management company, I think, SIG International. I don't exactly remember, but
Yeah,
he's having a meeting with them at the headquarters, right? And then after the meeting, the scene cuts to Gunther Steiner staring at the wall with
yeah, the
the
Ural Kali. Yeah,
Uralkali,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, this makes no sense. Like this, they cut to something that happened in our timeline that we know of, like later on in the season,
Yeah,
and
but I think that storyline was about getting sponsors, and remember because at that during that meeting, Gunther said that okay, I can't guarantee anything, and the leadership of that company were not entirely happy, judging by their body language.
reaction,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think Oral Kali coming in as the title sponsor, and then we do move on
See, that is
to
another thing that Netflix didn't exactly cover, right? Because they just cut to Nikita Mazepin being being the driver
being the
for
driver. Yeah,
2021, and Gunther just saying, "Oh yeah, it's rookies, but we need the money, so it's not going to be the best, but just because other teams don't do it doesn't mean it's wrong." But like we didn't see any discussions between Dmitry Mazepin and Gunther. I think I would have liked to see more of that.
but I suppose okay. I don't want to get into stuff from outside DDS, so let's keep it that way. But I guess there was not much of a storyline for it because they needed the money and they got the money, so
Yeah,
that was it.
exactly. Yep, yep. And then I think the most touching episode of the season, just reliving the Carlando bromance one final time. In my opinion, though, I think after watching that episode, I think the Carlando bromance will only grow after Carlos moving out of McLaren. I think it saved the Carlando friendship that we all admire so much.
I totally agree with you because we have seen this with Hamilton and Rosberg. They were best friends, and they were
Exactly.
not best friends for 2 seasons. They were best friends for ages.
Since 13. Since they
Exactly,
were 13.
and that the rivalry, the intra-team rivalry ruined it. So with different teams, although we won't be seeing them in the McLaren Unboxed and in the social media channels that much, but the friendship will grow definitely.
I think like Carlos moving out of McLaren kind of saved that, hopefully save that friendship. Uh, but I don't know if like I was reading too much into it, but it just seemed Lando didn't really want Carlos to leave the team, and he was hurt a little bit, even though he was angry that Carlos is like in that moment where we saw where Carlos was angry about, like, after the Styrian Grand Prix, Carlos was angry about having to let go
Yeah,
Lando,
yeah,
having to release Lando, and then Lando had a great race and Carlos didn't, and then in the media interviews later on, Carlos and Lando had a little tussle with the chairs, although it was like playful and it was like serious. Lando got out and he did come out and say that if I did the same thing to you, you would become angry and butthurt and whatnot. So
yeah,
that went to show that things were a little bit more strained than what we thought throughout
yeah.
the
I
season.
mean, we see on Twitter nowadays, like after the series released, people are complaining that the Calando rivalry was not really there, and
I think it was
it was
there,
there
like.
exactly because Carlos Sainz is not getting the full information from McLaren because he is leaving the team. That Lando Norris is the future of the team and they are trying to build it around him. And you also know that Lando Norris wants to take the fight to the next level because he's not a rookie anymore. And he got a great
Exactly.
start to the season with a podium and a P5. So Lando Norris wanted that, wanted to be there in the team as an equal to Carlos, right? And I think
Yeah,
the
and like
rivalry
I
was
think
very
at the
much
very
there.
very start of the episode, he points out after, like, we see Lando on the podium. In the interview after that, Lando points out that Carlos probably didn't see that coming because the year before he was a rookie and he wasn't as aggressive as this year,
Exactly.
and Carlos is gonna fight back. But it still definitely seemed that even though they were having like a rough time, they were happy patches and they were like, the competitive patches. Lando still didn't want Carlos to just up and leave McLaren.
Yeah, well, I suppose, but I feel Carlos's move and the way his family is involved, which we see in the season, is very very important. And to even though, like, from the seasons, uh, even before the season started, he had signed, and the entire season he saw what what the position Ferrari were in, and he was in a bad position at McLaren himself. So he wanted that support, and seeing Carlos Senior and the cousin Carlos be there for
Yeah,
him is a very great thing. And
I think yeah, having his dad and his cousin around him at times is definitely like it's a great support system.
yeah,
And I
and
think that is something that not just Carlos, like anyone in their life would want.
exactly. But I feel like, from what we have seen on DTS and from what we have seen on social media, I feel Carlos is much more involved and much more connected with his family, because he goes. Yeah,
Yep,
I mean,
yep.
obviously everyone is connected to their family, but the relationship with Carlos and
It's
Carlos
a very
is,
strong and
yeah,
healthy
and
relationship that he shares with his
also because
family.
Carlos Senior is himself a world champion, so he does get involved a lot more than other parents, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. But we also saw a glimpse of the like I think Jenny Gao pointed out the father son relationship that Zach Brown and Lando share.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was kind of cute to see how, and it was very warming to see when Lando finished P3 and how he ran and how Zach Brown ran to each other and they hugged each other. I was like, wow, like this is great. Like this Apple is great.
yeah. And and
It
and I
was very
remember,
heartwarming.
in after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, in the the cool down lap, the team radio, Zach Brown was shouting in his American accent, "Lando,
Yeah,
yeah man," and all that stuff. And Lando himself did that American accent, and oh
yeah.
yeah, Zach and whatnot, and that was quite funny for me.
Yeah, it's great to see the rapport those guys share. And again, and we all know Zach Brown loves Daniel Ricciardo too, so it'll be interesting to see how that relationship pans out between Zach Brown and Daniel Ricciardo. And also it was really nice to see that Lando was looking forward to finding out why Daniel Ricciardo is so highly rated and how he can learn and take the fight a step further with Daniel Ricciardo. That was definitely like the most heartwarming episode of all the episodes that we saw. And it was really great to explore that, to see just more Carlando content, regardless. And then the biggest story, Man on Fire, Roman Grosjean. I think, well, I just said the Carlando, it was very heartwarming, but I think the most touching part of the entire season was Roman and his wife.
Marion.
Yeah, Marion's interview uh, at the end of that episode of episode 9. I think it just it seemed like they were just realizing, or just reliving the whole thing as Roman was talking about it, and just how thankful and grateful they were for Roman escaping the horrific crash that he had.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, getting Marion involved was a good initiative from, like, from
Netflix.
Netflix, from DTS, box to box films. Yeah,
Yep,
and
yep, and
that moment when Roman says, "I'm the man that walked out of fire," and
yeah,
Marion just
and
goes,
Marion
"Oh
just
my
rolls her
God."
eyes. Here we go
Yeah,
again.
that was cute.
Yeah, that was that was funny, and it was the longest episode of the season, 51 minutes, almost an hour.
Oh yeah,
It was the longest episode.
and it was great to hear
Um,
from Dr. Ian Roberts as well. They interviewed him as well.
Absolutely, and I think, like I was personally very surprised with how much the crash itself was covered by Netflix, the images and things like that. Because I, I feel like the consensus after the crash and after like the incidents that had happened over the last couple of years, with Antoine Hubert, and the consensus has been, it's detrimental to show it on TV over and over again. It's not like, on one hand, at least for like Romance Crash, you could say, like, it would be a testament to his willpower, to his his character. But like the general consensus from coming from the paddock after that happened was, they shouldn't have shown it on TV for so long, because
Yeah, and Daniel Ricciardo did say a lot. He was very outspoken about it.
even Lewis Hamilton said, that they shouldn't do it because it drills, like, the the fear creeps in the more you see it. And the longer they didn't see Roman walk out of the fire, the more convinced they were that he was not going to uh, be seen again.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not the drivers, the drivers still know, like, the drivers obviously are risking their lives, but their families, hundreds, thousands of miles away,
Yeah.
are watching those same images. And the families know Roman and other drivers, they get involved. And
And Marion pointed that out. She said, for 2.5 minutes we didn't know, and with every passing
yeah,
second, she was just more and more convinced.
so yeah, it was strange, rightly so, as you said. But nevertheless, one of the better episodes of the series. The
Yeah,
Yeah, again, it was very heartwarming and very
I mean, I
humbling.
got anxious. Yeah, I got very anxious watching those images again, and those images of the crash, and and Netflix was covering it like in the sequence of the events that happened, right? And they were showing the crash, and they took way longer than 2.5 minutes to
Yeah,
show that Roman was out of the car. And I'm like, can we just get to that part? I don't want to relive this over and over again.
yeah,
As a fan, even so, yeah, my anxiety was sky high. Even though I knew that Roman is fine and he's racing again in IndyCar this year, but
yeah,
uh,
yeah. You're right, and
and then last episode of the season, way to wrap up with the Abu Dhabi season finale. Mm, mm, Definitely they tried to cover. Well, we forgot about Perez's win. That they covered. Not a whole lot. They did cover Perez's overtakes and stuff like that, but not as exciting. It didn't excite me as much
yeah, I think
as I would think it
they
would have.
covered Perez's win in the last episode because of the whole fight for P3 in constructors storyline, and but it was good. It was good to see Perez talking to his family back home in Mexico. That video call was quite well covered.
Yes, yeah, that was definitely a nice touch. From like it was definitely nice of Netflix to be there
Yeah,
to cover all of that, and for Perez to allow Netflix to be in there. And then I don't know. Episode 10 wasn't like a whole lot because I guess it didn't matter as much about the P3 and the constructors. Like it was exciting back then, to see
yeah,
who'll finish ahead. But knowing the results, I
yeah,
didn't really care about it a whole lot. Um, but again, surprising that Netflix didn't cover the V Races One initiative as much as I would have thought. Just like a little like 5-10 minute clip at the end of the last episode with Lewis talking about it a little bit, and a few clips from the events that had happened earlier in the year. Um,
yeah. They certainly could have explored more on it, but I mean, you can't have everything, and so
yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of other things that Netflix couldn't cover, I guess. Especially in this season with restrictions and whatnot. Like they didn't cover Russell's win, or like Russell's not win, but Russell's
Mercedes,
disappointing race
yeah,
in Bahrain
Mercedes.
with Mercedes.
I
They
mean,
didn't cover
George Russell was barely mentioned.
exactly,
I think I only saw George Russell once when Kimi Raikkonen crashed into him at Nürburgring.
that. And when like at the start of in like episode 2, when they come back and George is like saying hi to the cameras,
Yeah, yeah,
to the virtual fans.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was a bit.
they didn't cover Hulkenberg's return even once out of like the 2 or 3 appearances that
Three
he had.
appearances.
Yeah, the 3 appearances didn't cover that.
Falcon.
Didn't cover Claire Williams. like they mentioned it, but they didn't cover behind the scenes of Claire Williams leaving the
Yeah,
team.
the Williams family, exactly.
And they also didn't cover Alonso's return to F1 and his tests and the behind the scenes of Alonso's preparation to race the season.
Yeah, I mean, they did show Alonso once, but
Yep.
I like I personally, as a fan, would have liked Alonso to be covered more. But obviously, I believe next season they have an entire episode planned for Alonso because he's a two-time world champion. He might have an eventful season next year. So
And I think I keep forgetting his name, but the producer director of Drive to Survive, on the interview with Jenny Gao, he did say, like, that they're aware of the fact that they didn't cover a lot of storylines this season because of various reasons and things, like just not being able to be there, like, at all places at all times.
yeah,
But he also said that some of the storylines can be integrated into next
into next
year's
season.
Try to Survive 21. So we might see some of these storylines uh,
Yeah,
come
and
back.
that happens because we saw the 2018 Russian Grand Prix come back for this season.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
And but in the same interview, the director pointed out something that, I guess, although, like, the Drive to Survive season 3 didn't exactly, like, it wasn't the most in depth, I feel, in terms of storylines, but it, like, in little pockets of moments and clips, and he alluded to the fact that because they were with the teams and they were in team kits and things like that, they were able to experience, like, blend in more with the team and experience the environment much more closely than ever before.
yeah, exactly. So they were blended in with the team, but obviously they couldn't get everything from everywhere because they were in the bio bubbles.
Yep, absolutely. But one thing that just that gave me, like, an OCD almost was, like, when they were covering Lando's win and his last lap of, like, how he's catching up to Hamilton, and all I was waiting for was to listen, like, hear scenario 7 in my headphones, and it never came, and I was like, why is this not there? This is probably the most prolific quote from that race.
Yeah, I think they did include scenario 7 during
But
his
that was, like, in
qualifying.
testing or
Yeah,
qualifying.
qualifying
Yeah,
at
yeah,
testing exactly,
qualifying.
but they didn't mention it in the race. But yeah, and even they didn't mention Sergio Perez breaking down on the last lap because that episode was about McLaren and Racing Point. They mentioned Lance Stroll, but they didn't mention Sergio Perez. It was quite strange.
It was really weird. We didn't see a lot of the drivers either this season. Like, I feel the focus was more on the team principals than the drivers almost.
Yeah, we didn't see Daniel Kvyat at all. I think.
Yeah, there was just, like, that little clip with Pierre when they're trying out, when they're doing the photo shoot.
Oh yeah, right. I had forgotten about it. I like the fact that they focused on Daniel Kvyat's face when they stand for the national anthem on in the Russian GP episode. So that was I think good because
I don't know.
to show him at his home race,
Yeah.
but we didn't see him other than that. And yeah, Charles Leclerc we saw interacting with fans a little bit, but nothing more. And we saw his crash at Monza a few times.
So many times. Like, I feel like we saw that crash a little way too many times than we needed to. We saw it once when they were covering Carlos coming second. We saw it again when we saw Ferrari's episode, and then we saw it again when we saw Pierre's episode on how he won, in Monza. And I was like, we really don't need to see this crash again and again. We all know know what happened. Just don't make me relive this
Yeah.
again, any more than I already have. So yeah.
They I think they didn't cover the Turkish Grand Prix as much as
I
the community believes
I
they should have because it was the record equaling Grand Prix and all, like it
Yeah,
was
I guess that's true.
the a fun race with Sebastian on the podium. So Sebastian and
But again,
Perez on the
I
podium.
think they didn't really have an episode on Lewis per se. That the episode that they had on Mercedes was mostly focused on Bottas and not on Lewis.
Yeah,
And I guess like I guess like the F1 community in general is missing out on the hype of Lewis Hamilton, having 7 championships, and I just feel like there's not enough hype to have a 7-time world champion once again on the grid, and that's been missed
Yeah,
out by like everyone, including Netflix.
yeah. But I think the worst covered team on a whole was definitely Williams, because
Even Alfa Romeo didn't feature at all.
Alfa Romeo did have an episode where the Gunter Steiner's episode, we do hear from Fred
Yeah,
Vasseur
yeah,
and we
yeah,
do hear
yeah,
from Antonio Giovinazzi, but
yeah. I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Williams, didn't, I don't know if I heard
Yeah,
from
we
Williams.
didn't see Williams at all throughout, and I think they had one of the biggest stories of the season
Yeah,
with the Williams
with the
family
family leaving it.
essentially
Yeah,
leaving the team. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Definitely, a lot more potential, I guess, that Drive to Survive missed out on. But again, Drive to Survive is bringing in more F1 fans, and I couldn't be happier. So I'll throw this question out to you, Vedant. Drive to Survive has been a fan favorite, but it also has received a lot of criticism from long-time F1 fans that it's for different reasons. I don't even
yeah.
know a lot, but I know a lot of people
Oh
because
no.
I genuinely like it. I just genuinely like more F1 content, so any content is well appreciated. But I know like a lot of purist fans don't like the idea of new fans just joining through Drive to Survive. But is Drive to Survive a regular feature on your F1 calendar now?
It definitely is because, and hear me out. There are a couple of reasons for it. Firstly, there are more than a couple of reasons for it. Firstly, I saw a graph recently on Reddit, on the Formula One subreddit, which showed that the number of subscribers the F1 subreddit got after each release of Drive to Survive, and it was growing exponentially. And it was and the uprise started with Liberty Media coming in, right? And so I think what Liberty Media has done with Formula One to get this content across to newer fans, they did explore social media properly. YouTube, they revamped YouTube, they revamped their website and all that stuff. And I mean, it is beyond the point of DTS, but Liberty Media as a whole has been very beneficial. I know there's a lot of criticism for Drive to Survive from the purest fans, as you said, but for me, a sport only survives when there are fans.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
if there are only purist fans, I mean, the sport can't grow because purist fans grow organically and very slowly. And with Drive to Survive, I personally see a lot of people I know have started following Formula One properly and with technical
Yeah,
insights,
a
in
lot, a
fact.
lot, a lot, a lot of our mutual friends have started following Formula One because
Exactly.
of Drive to
And
Survive.
it's not that they only enjoy Drive to Survive because it's entertaining, or they only watch Formula One because it's something to talk about. They get involved. They get involved in the insights. They start reading up. They start reading on the technology and all that stuff. They start
They
reading the
start watching
history.
races.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I think it's only, I mean, there's no negative result out of it. It's only,
Yep,
for
absolutely.
me, it's all positive.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Well, I don't have any more thoughts on Drive to Survive season three. It just leaves me wanting more, and I can't wait for the season to get going in Bahrain in a week. Any closing thoughts from you, Vedant?
Well, for me, see, I think we covered why Drive to Survive couldn't include a lot more things, but people need to understand the current Formula One fans who watch Drive to Survive after watching the 2022 season need to understand that it's not a season review.
Yep, yep.
It is a dramatized version of. It is a dramatized documentary as
It's a
such,
documentary. Yeah, yeah,
and
absolutely.
its main motive is to get more fans to Formula One. That is its main motive. So if it's serving its purpose, I don't see, because if there's someone who is not following Formula One, they wouldn't care what happened in Turkey. All right,
Exactly.
a great man won another championship. The most
Or
success,
like Claire Williams
yeah, it wouldn't matter
leaving
to
the team
them.
isn't, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But the story,
Hulkenberg's return, not a huge deal for
the
them.
storyline in Monza, where an underdog team is winning, the storyline in Austria, where Lando Norris is coming from behind the shadow of Carlos Sainz. So these are the storylines that make Formula One more exciting for newer fans, and I think that is the purpose Drive to Survive is trying to solve. So the criticism,
Absolutely.
while is acceptable, is not very justified.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you, Vedant. It's been a pleasure talking to you about Drive to Survive. I wish we could have binge watched it together, but COVID times and college did not help that. But it was definitely great catching up with
Also,
you
the
about
time
it.
difference, man.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to let that be a factor, but things don't always pan out the way you want them to.
Yeah.
But anyway, great to have you here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you.